I need a comical joke for the beginning of this video. I'm bad at this. Let's just get to the intro. Hey guys, it's the Lyoko Gem, and welcome to another video. If you know this channel, then you knew it would only be a matter of time until I talked about the comics, and now, here we finally are. Recently, there was an interview with Ian Flynn that I'll link below that talked about the comics and everything to do with them, and I think I have enough to talk about the comics as a whole now, so I'll be referring to that interview for the most part, as well as other things we know about the comics. So, let's get into it. So first thing we need to know about the comics is that it's going to be an entirely fresh start for the comic end of Sonic, meaning that, unfortunately, they will not be wrapping up the story of the Archieverse. Ian Flynn does have how he would have ended the old series, but right now, they can't quite talk about it to what I'm assuming are legal issues. But I expect some point in the future, we'll hear about how it was supposed to end. But that aside, the comic's primary focus is speed and fun. They want to give it a vibe where Sonic is just out and having his adventures with his friends, and it's a good old fun time. There won't be any focus on world building or character backstories or anything like that. The goal is to keep it simple for the time being. And as for tone, I'll quote Ian on this one. They want it serious enough that you're engaged, but not so serious where you're rolling your eyes and saying, "Come on, this is a blue hedgehog, chill out!" So thankfully, it looks like we won't be getting any Shadow the Hedgehog deals with these comics, which is a very good thing. Personally, I hope that from a game perspective, that means they're going for a tone from the 2008 to 2009 games, those being Sonic Unleashed, Sonic and the Black Knight, Sonic and the Secret Rings, and Sonic Rider Zero Gravity. That sort of Pixar-style tone where it knew how to have fun, but it also knew when to get serious and tell compelling stories. That's what I want out of pretty much anything Sonic except for Boom. So here's to hoping that the comics have that vibe. But no, another thing to note is that the comics will also be drawing inspiration strictly and directly from the games to start with. And maybe in the future they'll look at other Sonic media to draw inspiration from. I also personally like this because the comics are a fresh start. It would make sense for them to drag from one source rather than all the Sonic media out there. It's simple and to the point, and as things grow, they'll be able to do more with it, which is good. So I do support this particular choice. I really do hope as they continue on, they'll tell more interesting and in-depth stories over the course of time to make things interesting. But starting small and simple and from the games is a good thing right now. So with that said, let's get into a little more details on the comics. The first few issues are going to pick up right where Forces left off, with the Resistance needing to clean up the rest of Eggman's army that has been sent rampaging without their leader. You don't need to worry about having played Forces to understand this though. Basically, if you understand where Sonic Forces was the game where Baldy Nosehair took over the world and they had the furry warfare, then you're good. My guess is that the first arc will be a picking up the pieces arc before Dr. Eggman finally makes his return in issue number 5, which will be interesting. I'm all for what they're going to pull with this. In fact, one of the things they're going to pull with this is the introduction of brand new characters, and some of the first of those are Ruff, Tumble, and Tangle. First, let's talk about Ruff and Tumble. These two tough customers will be sparring off against the roughest of the rest of them in Sonic, the, one that, tumbles, like Knuckles, and I swear I'm funny. Anyways, issue 3 is where these two will be making their first appearances, and will be terrorizing a village only to be stopped by Sonic and Knuckles. They're described as school bullies more than masterminds, and are described to be little villains by Ian Flynn, basically the first 2 editions of many villains to the Sonic IDW Comics. In my personal opinion, since these two are the first of many new villains, I expect Ruff and Tumble to pop in at the most annoying of times for our heroes and will just be a ton of fun. They've got some really nice designs going on, and I can't help but be reminded of Storm by Tumble's design. And it's gonna take a while to remember which one is which, but in the end, I hope you'll be ready to rumble when we throw hands with Ruff and Tumble. And as for Tangle, well, there's a lot to do with her. For starters, the music that you're hearing in the background right now is a Tangle theme by my good friend Teenage Game Remixes. You should check his channel out because he's got some really good stuff. But no, Tangle is such a cool character. I mean, look at that design! Like Rough and Tumble, from the moment I saw her design, I knew she was going to be great, and I'm excited to see what she'll be like when we meet her in issue 4. She's fun and scrappy and likes to tangle with the bad guys, just as heroic as Sonic the Hedgehog, and sure to be a lot of fun for readers of the comics. As a lemur, Tangle makes great use of her tail by grabbing objects and enemies around her, and with that fighting spirit, she'll be a force to be reckoned with on the battlefield. Now, fun facts about Tangle are that her concept is actually based off of one of the concepts for Sonic the Hedgehog, Feel the Rabbit, and how she picks up things with her tail. They even go as far as to describe how gameplay with her would be in the interview. Another reason for Tangle's existence is because they wanted to create another female character in the Sonic universe. Because here's the deal. Amy's, well, Amy. Rouge has boobs. Cream is too young. And Blaze can only appear on 420. So here we have Tangle, our one kick-butt girl that can be called into a situation whenever they feel like it, which is awesome! Sonic definitely needs more girls, and I'm glad that she'll be around to fill that role. With that in mind, what sort of role will Tangle have? They already said they won't make her a sidekick because Sonic already has Tails, and not a villain because we've already got Eggman. So there are a lot of things that could happen with her. She could be a love interest for Sonic, which would be a tad cliched, and well, I prefer her not to be, but I'm not entirely opposed to the idea so long as they were able to pull it off well. But I would prefer for Tangle to be her own character. She could be a leader of her own. Perhaps since they're likely to put Knuckles back into his role as Emerald Guardian, they don't really need an organized cause anymore. But who knows, maybe Tangle will work her way up into being a leader. Or perhaps she's just what she is, a hero in her own right who will help Sonic and friends save the day. Or maybe she takes the role of our custom character in Forces, to have an official face to that isn't Gadget. While they said they're not looking into lore and world building and character development and stuff, it's always interesting to wonder what they'll do with her. I truly believe Tangle will be one of the comic exclusive characters that they'll focus on quite a bit, and I think she's going to end up being one of the best characters in the comics. But if you thought those are the only characters in the comics that we know about, then you're dead wrong, for there is another. A new Antagonist is said to be joining the comics as well. Well, they're new, but old, and okay. A new Antagonist will be appearing in the comics who will show up by the first year's end. Hints will be dropped early on, and the older fans will probably be able to figure it out pretty early on. So, if it's an old enemy, Alright, I think I know who it is. The Slowdown Stews from Sonic Labyrinth. Okay, no, for real. Real guesses for this antagonist makes me think perhaps Metal Sonic, and I mean the real one, since Forces was pretty Heroes inspired, so it would make sense for Metal to rise out of the ashes of the Empire. Or perhaps it could be the Hooligans, but they don't really fit the role for main antagonists. You don't have a lot of options for game-based things. Maybe it's Chaos again? I don't know, guys. The possibilities are never-ending, and we'll have to look for more clues. But now, let's take a look at the 5 comics that we know about so far. Issue number 1. Sonic's racing into a new adventure. After defeating the evil Dr. Eggman's latest plot, Sonic is racing around the world to shut down the robotic badnik forces that are still attacking villages. But it's a big job for one hedgehog, even Sonic. Fortunately, he'll have some help from his best friend, Tails. Issue number 2. Sonic's new adventure continues, and when he comes across another town in need of saving, his old pal Amy arrives just in time to join the fight. The banter is fun and the stakes are high, but things are really serious when Amy presents Sonic with a big request. Rejoin the Resistance. Issue number 3. Sonic and Knuckles team up, and it's just like old times, until 2 new villains show up. With a group of villagers under attack, will even the combined forces of these 2 heroes be enough to take down Rough and Tumble? Issue number 4. Sonic comes across a town under attack from the biggest badnik force he's ever seen. Luckily, help is on the way from his old friend Blaze, as well as a new hero. Get ready for the debut of Tangle. Issue number 5, The Fate of Dr. Eggman, Part 1. After his last battle with Sonic, Dr. Eggman's gone quiet. His badnik forces are still causing trouble, but without the bad doctor's usual fanfare, what's Eggman been doing all this time? And what will happen to Sonic when he finds out? So now, here comes my favorite part, where I get to theorize how this story will go down. So, we all know at the end of Forces, Sonic said goodbye and went on his own path. So my guess is that this first issue will open up on some big action in one of these places where Sonic is taking care of the problem. Sonic will be taking care of people and villages on his own, and it's going to be cool and action-packed. We get some narration from Sonic and what's been going on and who he is because it's the first issue, and then I guess he heads into Green Hill Zone. And when he does, he runs into Tails, who helps him take on some of the robots terrorizing it. Tails, I imagine, is still with the Resistance, so they split paths at the end of the first issue. You can tell this by the fact that Tails is neither mentioned nor in the cover of the second issue. When moving on to issue 2, it'll roughly be a repeat of the same, only this time with Amy. Amy and him defend the village and face off against the multi-legged Battle Mech. At the end, Amy would ask him to rejoin the Resistance. Alternatively, he runs into Amy near the beginning and she's like, "Hey, join the Resistance," and Sonic is all, "Nah." Then he ends up going to the village and can't handle the multi-legged Battle Mech, until Amy comes and lends him a hand and they beat it together, and at the end, once again, "Hey, join the Resistance." Either way, the issue would probably end on Sonic accepting, or perhaps they'd leave it on a cliffhanger, where he rejoins the Resistance in the next chapter. I do think he rejoins the Resistance, though. The reason for that being in Sonic the Comic, issue number 3, and Knuckles, where Sonic and Knuckles are on a mission together. I'm guessing it's his first deal with the Resistance and all, and then rough and tumble. And yeah, Sonic and Knuckles win, and it's cool. Next up is the Sonic Blaze and Tangle issue. And I'll admit, this one's got me. So, judging by the variant cover, it looks like it's in Sunset Heights, or at least some sort of town or settlement or whatever similar to it, and they're going at it with the Eggman robots. As for Blaze, she appears because of dimensional shenanigans? Perhaps she was summoned by Eggman, who still has the Phantom Ruby somehow. That would explain his return in the next chapter. I'm not sure why she could be here. Like, it doesn't make sense for them to just throw Blaze in when they said that she has the whole dimensional issues, so there's gotta be some way that she appears. As for Tangle, she could be part of the Resistance and paired up with Sonic on this mission. Or perhaps she just appears in a tight situation to save the day. Or perhaps she's a resident of Sunset Heights, or wherever this may be, and she just joins the fight. Anything is possible. They win the fight, and perhaps at the end, the first sighting of Eggman is there. Whether he appears to them, or he's just leaving the scene, or whatever. Sonic could chase after him, and that would lead into issue number 5, The Return of Eggman. And I have no idea what's gonna go down there, but yeah. That's how I think the comics are gonna go down so far. And now we've got some extra little facts about the comics. For starters, the relationship between the writers and Sega is pretty positive. They're in good contact with one another, and Sega has usually been accepting of the ideas this team has. When they're not, Sega advises the writers and they revise. It's pretty cool. In fact, the relationship is so cool that Sega can use any of the concepts in the comics and the games that they like, and I'm hoping to see our girl Tangle end up in a game sometime in the future. I do hope that Sega does take the opportunity they have now to use some of the comic stuff. Also, crossovers are pretty likely for this as well. IDW has a lot of properties that Sonic can cross over with, and Ian is excited to do some crossovers. He's hoping to do a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one, since he also writes for those as well. There's a lot of opportunities there with the stuff they've got the rights to. Personally, I'm hoping for Sonic meets some Disney properties, perhaps Sonic meets Star Wars so we can finally have Sonic Wars, or perhaps Samurai Jack so we could have a comic titled Jack and the Hedgehog or something. I don't know. There are a lot of opportunities for some pretty cool crossovers. And with that said, what are my final hopes and wishes for these comics? Well, I hope they go well and tell some nice Sonic stories that we can enjoy and talk about as we wait for the games. Something that the fandom can enjoy and, you know, I'll be here with the discussion and theories to spare on them. A big wish of mine is that we get some characters from spin-off stuff like Styx in there, and especially my favorite, Pirates, the Babylon Rogues, and just stuff like that. I hope it lasts a long time and that there'll be nice bridges between games to come so that we can have continuity of some sort. I hope that they can flesh out characters who don't have much, like the Deadly Six, and that sort of deal. And most importantly, I just hope that they're an enjoyable experience for everyone reading and creating these comics. I'm definitely hyped for what the future may hold for Sonic and IDW. I think we'll be okay, because this is what Ian had to say. The new Sonic comic is made by Sonic fans for Sonic fans, and if you're not, we will convert you because it's just a fun book. You don't need to know anything coming in, just that Sonic's blue and goes fast. And with that, I'll end what I'm sure is a pretty long video. What do you guys think about the IDW comics? Are you excited for them? Do you have different opinions or theories than the ones I left off in this video? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this video and want to hear more from Lyoko Gem, then check out my social media at Tumblr, Twitter, and Discord, all links below. And be sure to like and subscribe. And guys, check out my friend TNH. He's got some great music. But with all of that being said, this has been the Lyoko Gem, a warping out.